Welcome to Sportsified News. I'm Braylon, and today we're going to be recapping all the deals made at the very active NBA trade deadline, which was yesterday at 3 p.m. Let's get started.
Sportsified.
So the first trade took place early in the morning, and it was struck by none other than the Pistons, who've been very active on the trade market since hiring their new general manager, Troy Weaver. He has just been making deals after deals ever since he got hired in the beginning of the last offseason. And so this time he struck a deal, trading guard DeLon Wright to the Sacramento Kings for guard Corey Joseph and 2 second-round picks. Now, there's not much to be said about this trade, pretty much, besides the 2 second-round picks. I mean, they were pretty small currency in today's NBA. So it was basically a guard swap, Wright for Joseph straight up. And Wright is definitely an upgrade for the Kings as they want to make a playoff push. So that's a good deal on their part. Our next trade was the Nuggets acquiring center JaVale McGee from the Cavs for center Isaiah Hartenstein and 2 second-round picks. Now, the Nuggets did need a backup center for Nikola Vucevic. Vucevic plays a lot of minutes, but when he's not there, they need an impactful backup center who will grab boards and can score in the post when needed. So they got that in McGee. Our next trade is probably the biggest of the day. The Bulls acquired center Nikola Vucevic. Yes, Vucevic. First-time All-Star this year. And forward Al-Farouq Aminu. From the Magic for forward Otto Porter Jr., center Wendell Carter Jr., and 2 first-round picks. This is a very, very good deal for the Bulls, as now they have a solid core of Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, who could, the Bulls are 10th in the East right now, so they can definitely help the Bulls to make the playoffs this year and maybe advance past the first round next year as Kobe White develops more and they get more young talent progressing. They can be a pretty good team. Now on the Magic side, as we'll see in these next 2 trades, they were just cleaning house. Like, their best player now is Terrence Ross, and it's kind of crazy. So with that, our next trade, the Denver Nuggets acquired forward Aaron Gordon from the Magic, along with forward Gary Clark, for Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and a first-round pick. Now, Gary Harris is a pretty underrated player in my opinion. He can play really good defense, makes plays on offense, and hits his open shots. Now, RJ Hampton, he was the first-round pick in this last draft. Still has potential, hasn't gotten much NBA minutes since playing in the G League, and that first-round pick is protected. But overall, a pretty solid trade. I mean, Aaron Gordon wanted to leave, so when a player wants to leave, you just gotta do the best you can. And I think the Magic did a pretty good job in this situation. Now the Nuggets, with Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon, I don't know if we can call it a big 3 because Gordon's maybe not on that level, but that's a pretty good trio of players right there. Now in the Magic's last trade of their eventful afternoon, they sent out guard/forward Evan Fournier to the Celtics for 2 second-round picks. Now the Celtics were able to take on Fournier's contract without sending out any additional salaries because of the trade exception that they had when the Hornets signed Gordon Hayward. So they had an exception about $28 million, which means they could just take on $28 million in player contracts without sending out any money to match it. So they did a pretty good job getting a bench scorer here. Fournier's averaging somewhere around 19 points this season, his best season so far in the NBA, and he's going to be a big help for them. Moving on to one of the more bigger trades of the afternoon, the Trailblazers got guard/forward Norman Powell from the Raptors for Gary Trent and Rodney Hood. So if Norman Powell plays small forward or the Blazers move CJ McCollum to small forward, that is a really good scoring 3 of Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Norman Powell. Powell is having a career best year this year. He had crossed over 40 points at least twice that I know of this season, and it wasn't a small price for the Blazers to get Gary Trent Jr. He's a third-year player, and he has been really good for the Blazers this year. He's having a breakout season, as well as Rodney Hood. He's a good veteran bench piece. But the Raptors aren't going to make the playoffs this year. It looks like they've been doing a lot worse than people expected, so they're kind of cleaning house. Except they did keep guard Kyle Lowry. We'll talk about that later. That was kind of interesting. Now we have a 3-way trade. The 76ers got George Hill and Ignas Brazdeikis. The Thunder got Tony Bradley, Austin Rivers, 2 second-rounders. And the Knicks got Terrence Ferguson, center Vincent Poirier, and 2 second-round picks. So the 2 main pieces in this trade, I think, were George Hill and Terrence Ferguson. So George Hill to the 76ers gives them a good veteran guard off the bench for when Simmons and Seth Curry, Danny Green aren't playing, and he can help make plays for the other guys on the Sixers roster. Now the Knicks are wanting to contend this year, and they actually kind of are. So Terrence Ferguson will help on the defensive side of things, as he is a really good defender, and his shot has been coming along, but it's definitely not one of his strong points. The Clippers acquired guard Rajon Rondo from the Hawks for Lou Williams and 2 second-rounders. Yes, the Clippers sent Lou Williams to the Hawks. He's like, I don't even know how many times 6th man of the year. So if the Hawks are really interested, last time I looked, they were 4th place in the East. And when you're a contending team like that, you want Lou Williams, and they got Lou Williams. But Rajon Rondo isn't a small piece to give up, as he has tons and tons of playoff experience. He's a good veteran, and he's like one of the best passers in the league. One of the top 3 biggest trades of the afternoon here, the Heat acquired Victor Oladipo from the Rockets for Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick swap in 2022. Oladipo had wanted to go to the Heat for a while. When he was rumored to want to leave the Pacers during the offseason, the Heat were his number 1 rumored landing place, and now he's scheduled to become a free agent after the season, and the Heat were his number 1 rumored landing place, but he gets there early. Rockets send him to Miami for Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk. Oladipo's play has declined in recent years, but I do think the Rockets could have got better out of this. I think they just wanted to get rid of Depot, though, because, he kind of wanted out, and the Rockets are going into rebuilding now. They just went on a 20-game losing streak. Come on. Now, to wrap this up, I want to talk about some players that notably did not get traded. The Warriors' Kelly Oubre Jr. had been rumored for a while, but it looks like the Golden State's making a commitment to him and will probably re-sign him in the offseason. If not, it's a pretty big loss that they didn't trade him at this deadline. As I talked about earlier, the Raptors didn't trade Kyle Lowry. The Cavs didn't trade center Andre Drummond, who is a former All-Star and gets a ton of rebounds, like 15 a game. He'll probably be bought out, as they don't have a good relationship in Cleveland. And lastly, the Lakers' Dennis Schroeder was not traded. He wasn't talked about too much, but he was rumored as the main piece in a potential Kyle Lowry trade to the Lakers. That wraps up today's video. Thanks for tuning in to Sportsified News. It was a crazy deadline, but we'll talk about it more in our next podcast. I'll see you in the next one.